A lot of us, maybe most of us, do whatever we can to feel like we fit in. But a writer for The Atlantic argues that being an outsider is actually where the magic really happens. Because experiencing the loneliness and even the self-doubt that comes with being the outsider is the best way to grow. PK. PK, you know, when I think of PK Subban, I do not think of conformity, not for a second. What do you make of this? What do you make of this?
I think that when you're being yourself, you don't ever want to come across intimidating to anybody. And unfortunately, it can be that way sometimes without even opening up your mouth. You know, but I have a sensitivity to that because I've traveled enough. I've worked in so many different spaces. In a locker room, you have guys from all different walks of life and different age groups and different understanding. In order to be successful, you have to be patient. And, you know, most young people just aren't patient. So if you can exude some patience when you're young, I think that'll help you with building your relationships. On the part of being different, you know, I think it's everybody's job to separate yourself from your peers. You know, you can be a part of a team, but still want to be autonomous in some ways and have your own style and be your own person because that allows you to be at your best. And real teammates will value that, they'll play to that, they'll nourish that, they'll promote that, right? That doesn't mean you get away from your core values or what you've been taught or how you've been raised. Those things have never been up for grabs with me. But one thing that you can expect is that probably when I walk in, you're probably gonna see something that you've never seen before. You may hear something that you've never heard before, but what's consistent is I'm always about bringing people together and making people feel comfortable. And, you know, so I think it's great to be recognized as different when you're just being who you are. I think that sometimes people think they're different because they act a certain way. That's much different than just being who you are. So being who you are, you should always feel comfortable in that and have fun with it. You know, I've been able to turn a lot of negatives into positives by doing that and change a lot of people and people have influences on me too. So you have to be a learner. You have to be intrigued to want to learn and be intrigued by different people. That is the one thing I've very much learned in life, is be intrigued by people that are different because you don't know what you're going to learn.
Yeah. And I'll add to that. Fitting in is so overrated. But honestly, it took me a while to figure that out because, you know, in every classroom, in every school, in every extracurricular activity, I was the only black kid. So there was, when you're younger, you really want to fit in. And it's hard to fit in when you have bully beef and rice in your lunchbox. And people are like, what is that? And it's like, I can't even begin to explain it. But as you get older, you know what I'm talking about. But as you get older, you realize fitting in, like for me, the example was when I got to high school, I joined the cheerleading squad, which was like, that's the way to get in. Everybody had a swinging ponytail and I had one too, and it was real. Right? Everybody was like, okay, you're in this in crowd. And I was like, okay, I'm in. And then I quickly realized this is really not that great. First of all of a sudden there's all these unspoken rules that I have to follow. I can't hang out with that person. I can't talk to that person. I can't listen to this music. What is this? And I realized afterwards, and that's not a hit on my friends who were on the cheerleading team. They were wonderful. But all of a sudden there were all of these unspoken rules once I finally got in that I realized it's really overrated. Being your own self, knowing that you can walk into any room and be confident in yourself, that's the power.
You know, it's interesting.
That is the power.
I think it's the difference. It's the difference between fitting in and belonging. Fitting in requires you to contort yourself to conform to the group think. Belonging means you are accepted exactly as you are with no changes. There's a difference. I think developmentally, we're probably all thinking at a certain time in our life, maybe not you, PK, but I think right away of elementary school, I think of high school. That's when we start to like, oh my God, I just want to fit in. I don't want to stick out. I don't want to stand out.
We're seeing it with our kids right now.
We're seeing it with our kids right now. They just want to lay low under the radar. That's where it's safe, but they also do want to fit in. They want to be accepted. And I think developmentally for a certain time, that's very normal. I didn't realize that fitting in really sucked because I was really, you know, not being myself. But it was you find your people. That idea of finding your people is because they find you and they grab you and they go, you're with us. There's a difference with that. So I hope that for our kids, and I say to my daughter all the time, that might not happen until later in life. And it's just developmentally, I don't want you to avoid.
And you want to blossom later. Tell her.
You want to blossom later.
You want to blossom later.
You don't want to peak too soon.
We're all late bloomers at this table.
That's
just
right.
saying.
It's true.
Just saying.
Yes.